Imagine walking into a giant office building every night and seeing an old janitor quietly cleaning the floors. No expensive suit, no luxury car, no bodyguards, just a man doing his job. Everyone thought his name was Robert, a poor old worker who had spent his whole life pushing a mop. But nobody knew the truth. Robert wasn't poor. In fact, he secretly owned the company, and not just any company. A billion-dollar company. For years, employees walked past him without even saying hello. Some treated him kindly, others ignored him completely. One young employee named Ethan often stayed late at work. Every night he saw Robert cleaning the hallways. "Why are you still working at your age?" Ethan asked one evening. Robert smiled. "Because I enjoy it," Ethan laughed. "If I were rich, I'd never work again." Robert didn't answer. Instead, he asked a question. "What would you do if you had $1 billion?" Ethan immediately started listing expensive cars, mansions, private jets, and vacations. Robert listened quietly. Then he nodded and continued cleaning. Weeks passed. One morning, the entire company received an email. The founder and owner would finally visit headquarters. Nobody had ever met him. Employees were excited. Managers were nervous. Executives prepared speeches. When the big day arrived, everyone gathered in the main hall. The CEO walked onto the stage. Then he said something nobody expected. "Today, I'd like to introduce the man who built this company from nothing." The crowd looked toward the entrance. And froze. Walking through the doors was Robert, the janitor. The room went completely silent. People couldn't believe what they were seeing. Managers stared in shock. Executives looked confused. Some employees thought it was a joke, but it wasn't. Robert stepped onto the stage, then he smiled. "For years, I've walked these halls watching how people treat one another." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Robert continued. "I wanted to know something important. How do people behave when they think someone has nothing to offer them?" The room became even quieter. "I watched who showed respect. I watched who ignored others. And I watched who believed success is only about money." Many employees lowered their heads. Then Robert told his story. Decades earlier, he had started the company in a tiny garage. He worked day and night, failed many times, lost money, lost friends, almost gave up. But he kept going. Eventually, the company grew into a global business worth billions. At that point, he could have retired. Instead, he became curious. He wanted to understand people, so he took the simplest job in the company, janitor. For years, nobody knew, not because he wanted attention, but because he wanted truth. And truth appears when people think nobody important is watching. Then Robert looked directly at Ethan, the young employee who had spoken with him many nights. Ethan felt nervous, but Robert smiled. "You're one of the few people who treated me like a human being." The room turned toward Ethan. Robert continued. "You respected me before you knew who I was." Then he announced something nobody expected. Ethan would join a special leadership program personally mentored